The Podcasting Dead is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Make sure to subscribe for more podcasts. And while you're at it, drop us a like. If you want to help support the channel and have access to extra content, secret contest, and more, make sure to search for us on Patreon. Patreon.com/The Podcasting Dead.
All right, it's time for Weird Wednesday. I'm Justin.
And I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead. We podcast about a little bit of everything from the paranormal, obviously, to conspiracies, to the Walking Dead television show. Westworld, I want to jump on. I just haven't watched the new episode yet, but we want to start discussing that. We podcast about a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And a lot of times we have more information to present. But today I heard a story on, I think it's called What Lurks Below, might be the channel name. But it wasn't their personal experience. It's one of those channels where they read experience. You know, they'll read stories submitted by listeners or they'll find them on Reddit and just basically do a reading of them. And this story could be completely fabricated, but I found it to be absolutely fascinating. Of the, I think it was like 10 strange creature stories or something. This was by far the most interesting out of the whole lot, and I just wanted to kind of give you a synopsis, like a summary of it, and see what you think. All right, so this guy was it was told from the point of view of a grandson, and this guy was saying that his grandpa was a farmer and had his own, plot of land, everything, was out there one day on a tractor tilling up the land, and this giant creature, let me back up. So before this giant creature comes out, as he's tilling the land, he hears like this whistling, like it's trying to get his attention, right? And so basically he stops the tractor and he looks around, and out of the woods come this giant Anubis-looking creature. And now when I say Anubis, remember I'm talking of the Egyptian god, the one that you're very familiar with, I'm sure.
The bird head?
The dog head.
The dog head. Okay.
The dog head, the humanoid body with the dog head, almost Doberman pincer kind of looking head. And it comes barreling out of the woods and hits his tractor so hard it almost knocks him off.
Jesus.
So this thing starts tearing into his tractor like we would tear into a piñata, just ripping it to shreds, tearing the engine all to pieces. So the farmer gets off the tractor and he runs inside, and he's freaked out, as anybody would be. So basically, he's thinking to himself as he's sitting in the house, like, what am I going to tell people? People are going to think I'm crazy. Naturally so. But then he decides, all right, all fear aside, I for real need to get my tractor out of that field. So he gets his truck and he goes out there to tow the tractor. And all of a sudden, he looks, and now instead of seeing the one that attacked, he sees two smaller ones standing there just observing him. And, he described them as like they would be like the child versions of what he had seen. But he could definitely tell that they were a younger version of this creature. And it was just observing him, and it scared him so bad that he went to turn and run. He slipped, fell, hit his head on the tailgate of the truck, and went unconscious for a few minutes. He woke up and looked at his watch, and the best he could guess, he thought he had been out around 12 minutes or so. But he woke up, and the truck was gone. Just completely gone, right? So it can't figure it out, and he knows. I mean, what am I going to call the cops to say these strange creatures took my vehicle? So he called the cops and reported a stolen vehicle. Thing was, they couldn't find any tracks. He thought logically, okay, maybe somebody saw me laying unconscious and thought, what better time to steal someone's vehicle than when they're laying there possibly dead. But so he calls the cops. He reports it's stolen. Okay, and so the cops search the property. They search the woods around. They don't see anything. They can't even find tracks of the vehicle leaving the area. Nothing fresh anyways. So that's just kind of a dead end. All right, so he's obviously a little freaked out, and he has a shotgun that he keeps near him during this whole ordeal. But he says he said several times the the person telling the story said that Grandpa was really like firm in that he was only going to shoot those things really if they came into his house. Mm-hmm. That he felt that if he was to go out of his way to attack them, that he would definitely invoke some wrath.
Yeah.
And that wasn't what he was trying to do. So let's see. So then he ends up, he says that these things stalk him. Like he just let his farm go to absolute crap. Mm-hmm. Because of this. He said he sees them standing out in the wood lines like they're observing him. They tap on his windows at night. They never break the threshold of his home. But he says that, some mornings he would wake up early and right across from where he woke up, there was a window, and he would wake up, sit up, look out the window, and they would be sitting there with their faces so close to the window that their breath was fogging it up, just watching him. And he said they had these almost rotten-looking teeth, but they were razor-sharp like a dog. Mm-hmm. And they would almost do this snarly grin type thing, like they were taunting him almost. And he said these things definitely seem to have some intellect to them. Mm-hmm. Not in the traditional way you would think of like a werewolf, just is primal and just trying to eat, and has no control of its actions. These things almost seemed like they were enjoying taunting him. They knew what they were doing. So he ends up calling his brother to help him. So he tells his brother basically he has a bear problem. Because he thinks, too, anything that could tear a tractor to shreds in the way that one did, probably ain't going to be stopped by a 12-gauge shotgun. Probably needs something a little more heavy duty. So his brother comes out, and what his brother does is sets up a game cam. He sets up like bear traps, because that's what he told his brother. He had a bear problem.
Yeah.
He didn't want to, again, this guy didn't want to sound crazy. He was telling his grandson all of this. And again, keep in mind, if you made it this far, this could all be 100% fake. I just found it really interesting and found it worth sharing. But so anyways, getting back to it. So his brother goes out, sets out all these bear traps and covers them and set up like these hole traps, the traditional kind of foot clamping traps, just all kinds of traps out there, and set a game cam up. The brother had a pistol on his side while he was out there, and he hears this snarling sound coming from some brush. So the brother kind of, steps around, pulls out his pistol, thinking that one of the bears or maybe even a mountain lion is there, and out steps these two little things. And now, keep in mind, the grandpa, I think the guy said he stood like 5'6", not a tall guy, and these things were shorter than him. The other one was much bigger than him, the one that tore his tractor up. That one's we haven't seen again for a while. But the two little ones are the ones that seem to be taunting him, almost childlike. You kind of get that? Like they're almost like curious children just taunting. So those two step out. His brother doesn't shoot him, thank goodness, but he just hightails it out of there and says, I'm gone. So he comes back at a later date. Every trap in the camera are gone. Just gone. Like something just took them. No trace of them left. So all of that's gone, which I'm sure the skeptical could say, oh, likely story. But they were gone. So the grandpa finally, I guess, had enough. I mean, the farm went to crap. He couldn't till the land because he was terrified of these things. They just were, repeatedly. I mean, the whole coming to his window, tapping on his window, scratching on his doors and stuff. They did that for a long time. He got used to it in a way. So he finally left for a while. I can't remember where the storyteller said he went, but he left for a while. Well, finally, way down the road, he came back. And the thing was, he had said that you could always tell when these things were near because the air got heavier, harder to breathe. It was like static electricity in the air when these things were present. And that when he got back, there was nothing. It almost was a sense of peace.
Yeah.
He was actually able to hook up to his tractor and get it out of there. And he hasn't seen the thing since. The guy's grandpa's still alive, but maintains to his grandson that this story is 100% true. And the reason why he just tells his grandson and not everybody is because clearly, obviously, everyone's going to think he's crazy.
Yeah.
And it does sound like a crazy story, but it's times like that where I'm like, dude, but how many things that have happened or how many things has humanity witnessed that if you were describing what you saw and didn't know what it was, would it sound crazy?
So are there any like photographs of the tractor or anything like that?
Not in this story. This was just a listener submitted story of like personal accounts. But what was interesting was that, you know, he never saw the big one again. Mm-hmm. You know, he was attacked by the big one and then saw the little one shortly thereafter. I think after he was, and I might have left this part out. I mean, I talked about he had a shotgun and all of that, but I realized down after I got to go, when the thing hit the tractor and it started tearing the tractor up, he ran inside and he got a shotgun.
So he was on the tractor. He got like ejected from the tractor.
He didn't get ejected. The thing hit it with so much force it almost knocked him off, but it started clawing at the engine. And if you know tractors, engines are like, you can see them there from the sides, you know, in the front. So it started tearing into the engine. He jumps off the tractor and runs inside and grabs a shotgun.
Right.
And then he comes back out and the thing was gone, but that's when he saw the two. And again, I'm paraphrasing, so if you've heard this story, feel free to correct anything that I may have left out or anything that needs to be added. I actually was searching. I was going to read you the story verbatim, but I couldn't find it online. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I think it was on the What Lurks Below channel, but I was going to actually try to read you the story, and if I can find the story between now and next week, maybe next week that's what we'll do is I'll actually read the story. Yeah. Or maybe I'll make a separate podcast so we don't have to rehash the same thing. But I do find it interesting. Like someone recently had told me about actually our friend Derek Patterson. I think we were having a discussion about the dogmen last week. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because he said, you know, dogman sightings technically go back thousands of years. You got to think Anubis.
So, oh man, I was going to say, have you read any other accounts of stuff like this? But I guess it does kind of fall into like the dogman, maybe skinwalker category, just weird cryptid creatures, you know?
Oh yeah, like if you, just imagine if these things have some level of psychic abilities.
Yeah, it seems
if
like
maybe this guy had seen something on the History Channel and this thing just manifested as his boat. I'm saying there's just lots of different options there.
Seems like it almost have to be maybe like an interdimensional demonic kind of creature. You know, if it's big enough and powerful enough to just tackle a tractor and rip it to pieces. I mean, it's hard to imagine that lurking in the woods, you know, and nobody catching sight of it. Like, you know, like something like a Sasquatch, I could see that existing and us not finding it. But something like that, dude, I don't know.
What throws me for a loop are the two little ones.
Yeah, that is weird. It's almost like, you know, Mama Bear teaching the cubs how to, you know, track prey or something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of eerie when you think about it. But it's one of the, it's I don't know. The big thing I would have just said, you know, I mean, and again, keep in mind, JP and I are very skeptical, but we love to talk this kind of things, like what if scenarios. I think even the most skeptical out there should keep an open mind. It's, you know, but, you know, I could say maybe it was a skinwalker would be more fitting for what it could be if that was the case. But the two little ones are what throw me off, man.
That's weird. And we've never like talked about a creature with the kind of like strength and power to straight up just like take down a tractor. I mean,
ripped into the motor like it was like just ripped it to ribbons. Just tore the motor to pieces, as the farmer said.
When I think about like a skinwalker, a dog man, even like a Wendigo man, I don't think about them having that kind of strength.
Right, like they're strong, but they're not like that incredibly strong.
Yeah, dude, that's nuts. That's nuts. And again, this guy could be nuts. Like I said, I wish we could. I wish there were some photographs or something. Did it say anything as far as like when this took place? Well, trail cam, so I guess it has has to be.
Yeah, I think this was recent. Yeah, I mean, I think it'd been a few years, but I don't think it was.
And it wasn't like 1950s or something.
Not to my knowledge. I think this. I would say this is in the last couple years. Yeah, like within the last decade.
Yeah.
But our friend Derek Patterson was saying had a very interesting point. Yeah, almost like he thinks that you know, that the dogmen and the Bigfoot might be from the same like branches of the same family in a way.
Yeah, I could see that.
The Anubis, like, I mean, that's a picture that Derek sent me of like Anubis.
Okay, yeah.
And like, that's what this guy said these things look like. Dark skin, kind of amber eyes that almost seem to glow without light hitting them. But it's interesting, the thought that maybe they could be the same species, just different offshoots, like Derek was saying. But he said that we'll have to get him on one day to talk about this stuff, especially cryptids. They seem to be his cup of tea.
So, I mean, he lives out there, like, Midwest, like Skinwalker Ranch kind of territory.
Yeah. I think he said he's been to Skinwalker Ranch, at least stop by to see it. So, Derek, if you're listening, man, let us know, like, in the comments. Give us some info on this. I mean, like I said, all in all, it could be fake. But what was interesting was I just heard this story. Just heard it. And last week is when Derek was talking about the Dogmen thing and the whole Anubis thing. And I know, it just, to me, it's just one of those coincidences that I'm like, okay, I don't usually know that I believe in signs per se, but how odd is that? And like now I'm not able to find any like supposed images of Anubis that anybody's taken like real life, but still, he mentioned that last week, and here we are a week later, and I'm on the way to work, and I hear this story. And I was like, man, I wonder what JP would think about this.
Yeah, well, like he said, man, I mean, stuff like this goes back to ancient mythology. I mean, maybe these people just had a great imagination, but at the same time, it kind of feels like it's got to be based on something at least close to being real,
Oh, yeah. I mean, you feel like a lot of times they say with all rumors, there's like a spark of truth.
Right, yeah. A lot of people think, man, that the ancients, whether it had to do with ancient lost technology or the ancient astronaut theory, that they had ways of manipulating genes, like, creating these weird hybrid creatures. A lot of people think that that's why, the Anunnaki or whatever alien you want to talk about, like nuked Sodom and Gomorrah. They were doing these crazy experiments creating creatures like that.
I don't know, man. What would you think? Would you think like transdimensional being? Would you think like God? Would you think?
Well, I think gods and angels at the end of the day are transdimensional.
Well, right, but that's what I'm saying. But when I say God, I mean like the God that
it's the same,
like the same thing that the Egyptians interacted with,
yeah.
like or Skinwalker. I mean, what would your first thought be with this?
Like I said, something with that power out there. I mean, I think interdimensional would kind of make sense, in this crazy conversation. But I mean, something with that kind of power, and I mean, if it looked a lot like that, we got to think, these beings might not experience time in the linear sense that we do. So they could be hopping between ancient Egypt and 2015 North Dakota. I mean, for all we know.
Well, just think. I mean, this could almost be one of those situations to their world to ours. Almost like think about the Orville, that episode where that world, came in and out, and it always advanced. What was it, 500 years?
Something like that,
or a couple. It was a long time. Forgive me for not knowing, but I mean, about 11 minutes.
Yeah,
our time, their time, hundreds, if not thousands of years had passed. I mean, what if they experienced from their dimension to ours? What if they experienced time? A time differential in that way.
Yeah.
They popped in. They were in ancient Egypt chilling. They popped back in, have a beer with their boys, and were like, yeah, dude, we just went to this new dimension on some weird planet, and people were building statues of us, and oh, man, it was wild. And then they're like, oh, really? I want to go there. Let's go back. Bam, it's 2020.
Yeah.
2010, whenever this happened.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, the two kid ones, assuming this isn't all just a crock of bullshit. I mean, that'd be the easiest way, just to be like, this story's a crock of shit. And just throw it out the window. But if you're listening to this whole thing, then hopefully you are a little bit more open-minded than that, as we are. At the end of the day, honestly, I think it was just a story.
Probably.
But it is fun to kind of dissect it and just see.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, these things, they've probably been around since longer than we have, I mean, they probably have. So
it's just interesting. I mean, let us know your thoughts below. I mean, assuming that this wasn't a false, just a made-up story just to get read on because, I mean, I think the channel would lurk. So maybe it's what lurks above. to give them credit for it because it's a great channel. I listen to a lot of their stuff, just like you hear me all the time bragging on like Lazy Masquerade and some other good narration channels. But let's see if I can find the channel to make sure I give it the proper shout out it deserves. There's one called Just Creepy. Where are you? I just want. What Lurks Above. That's the channel. Okay. I think that's who it was I was listening to. What Lurks Above, I believe. But yeah, just assuming. I mean, like, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool the idea that whatever this is could kind of read his mind and maybe just pulled that from something he had seen or watched, and it just manifested in a form that he could comprehend. But then again, it's almost like, think about it like this though. He never saw the bigger one again. It's almost as if it was being protective of its young.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, it's hard to, like you said, it's almost like something maybe just infected his mind. I mean, he summoned it upon him. I don't know.
And I mean, another explanation is that it could have just been your plain run-of-the-mill dogmen. I mean, some people, like I said, we were talking last week, and I think most of what we've seen is the difference between dogmen and werewolves, or that dogmen aren't typically people that turn into wolves. They just are these wolf human looking hybrids that just exist in the same way like Sasquatch exists. So it almost could be, another simple explanation is that's what it could have been. Like it could have been much in the way Sasquatch sometimes try to scare people off away from their young or their communes, wherever whatever the reason they're trying to run you off. Maybe this thing just it and its family were settled in here, and this guy just happened to, if they would have said they spoke, that's where I would have really, but I mean, it's like the children, the young were just as curious about him as, you imagine kids would be of some strange creature.
Yeah, dude. It does seem like, maybe that big old thing was just protecting its brood. And then, once it realized they were safe, just didn't worry about coming back out.
Because I know whenever I see a tractor come in near my daughter, I tear that shit up too.
Yeah. I can't blame you. Tractors
just the other day, I was chilling in the park and a tractor went rolling by. I got up and tore that damn thing to pieces.
Shoot, not just tried to, even a push lawnmower, man. If somebody
I sling a push lawnmower.
Yeah, clothesline the dude pushing it and then just sling it out in the street.
This old man next door had the audacity to be out in his yard pushing around a little push mower. I went over there and drop kicked him and slung that thing.
He should know better.
Get it away from my young.
He should know better.
Growled at him, pooped in his yard, and I left.
Yeah.
That got really weird out of nowhere.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of me, myself, and Irene.
No doubt. Yeah. But yeah, what do you think? Getting back to the seriousness here, what do you think? I mean, obviously, it's simple to be like, oh, it was fake. That's probably the most likely story. But if we want to get into the paranormal here, just for the sake of fun conversation, what could that have been? A skinwalker? I'm voting dogman. I think this was just a wild pack of dogmen that he got too close to.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's crazy, though, man, just having that kind of strength.
Well, they do say, one of the common, if you listen to dogmen stories and you read one of the similarities they all have is they describe the dogmen as being very muscular, like a human Captain America physique, but it's furry, almost like Captain America when he turned into a werewolf.
Yeah, Cap Wolf.
So I mean, that much muscle, you probably would be able to slam into a tractor. And,
probably so.
So I don't know. Just be careful when you're out in the woods, or in this guy's case, tending your own land.
That's right.
Next to the woods.
That's right.
But I would be interested to hear, just the whole Anubis thing is what I found interesting. I didn't mean to rehash the dogman thing this week, but I just heard that story, and I just found it so interesting and so fascinating. I'll try to find a link to that video to the video where the guy's telling the story. I mean, there's no pictures or anything, but it's just a guy telling stories. But I'll try to leave a link to that video in the comments section. And I went through all that trouble to make sure it was I was given the right title, what lurks above, and watch, it's not even going to be who does it.
Well.
But nonetheless, link should be in the description, and you can go check it out yourself and report back if you'd like. But in the meantime, I think that's going to conclude Weird Wednesday. JP, anything you want to leave them with?
No, man, life is weird enough as it is right now.
It really is. In the midst of all this, we were trying to talk about something other than the coronavirus, because we're sure that if you're here, it's probably because you want to hear about something other than the coronavirus. But just stay safe. Try to stay distance from people. You know, stay your distance, 6 feet, or just stay at home.
Yeah.
And one message to leave people with: please don't go bulk buy. Like, go grocery shopping, go buy things that you need, but don't think that you're the only person that needs these things.
Right.
You know, when we get in these dire times, that's when you really find out who some people are. If you're one of those people that rush to the grocery store and just grab every roll of toilet paper you can because to hell with everybody else, you got to have the cleanest ass in your neighborhood. Hopefully, when it all calms down, you can look back and go, wow, I'm kind of a piece of shit.
Right.
So, I mean, just think about other people when you're out doing that, too. And also, you know, check on your old neighbors. Just trying to leave you some positivity here in the midst of all of this. Maybe it's just the radio man in me. But, yeah, so be safe, be smart, and we'll catch you back tomorrow for a Patreon-exclusive podcast. If you haven't already, go check out our Patreon, patreon.com/thepodcastingdead. You get 2 extra podcasts a week for only $1.
A lot of bang for your buck.
And I think we're going to start doing tiers Thirsty Thursday. Hell, we might be starting that sooner than later just because we'll be quarantined in our houses. But where we're going to have some drinks and get a little tipsy with you and do just some live chats. We can do like live, questions, just hang out with you. So it'll be kind of a social thing on Thursday. So
that's right.
Maybe we should try that soon.
Yeah, I'd be down.
Be on the watch. You might see it tomorrow. Who knows?
Hey now.
But in the meantime, we'll catch you soon. I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead.